Let's take a closer look at my 2008 Epiphone SG Prophecy. So I did do a video a little while back where I talked about some of the pitfalls of this thing when I first got it, not in the model overall, just in this guitar in particular. If you want to go check that out, I'll leave you a link to that video right up there in the cards. But despite all the things that were wrong with this guitar in particular, I still feel it warranted its own review and demo because, I mean, the guitar, it feels great to play. I can set it up and it sounds great. I mean, it does everything that you would expect a guitar to do, so that's why we're here today. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the specs on this thing, then I'll give you a playing demo, then I'll give you individual tones. You know how this works if you're a returning viewer, and if you are, I love you, returning viewer. And if you're new, make sure you click that big red subscribe button, give the video a like, and click that bell notification so you're notified when all of my future videos go live. Without further dudes, let's talk specs on this thing. Starting at the headstock. It's the old Epiphone headstock shape, yada, 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 we all know that. This is technically a custom model. So you may have noticed right away the big lightning bolt tribal design thing here where a custom diamond would be. That's what the Prophecy model did back in the day, at least for the GX line. There was another Prophecy that did like a weird diamond thing, but we're not talking about that one. Generally, they're spec'd the same. But you may notice that the truss rod cover is missing. It normally would say like SG Custom, SG Prophecy, something like that. It was missing when I got it. Multi-layer binding around the headstock as you would expect on a custom model from Epiphone or Gibson. And you may also have noticed that this nasty little divot up here exists. Funnily enough, I tend to see almost in the exact same spot. It looks like someone rammed it into a wall or it fell off a stand or something on a lot of these older custom models. I don't know why. Take better care of your Gibsons and Epiphones, guys. Flipping over to the back, you may have noticed some things right away. Let's go ahead and talk about the good. Grover tuners. That's the good. The serial number up here, if I can find it, there we go. The last 3 digits have been like carved out with a knife. It's not a good sign. I didn't do it. I'm waiting for the FBI to knock my door down any day now. But the back of the headstock, you can see it looks kind of faded and worn, kind of like someone took a sanding block to it, which I'll go ahead and get the big thing out of the way. It does have a neck break. I have done what I can to repair it for now. I'm gonna do a little bit more work on it, but you could probably make the connection with the divot up there and the neck break and, you know, but it's still pretty sturdy. I think someone may have tried to fix it. It's fine. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is some kind of like Graphtec nut, something like that. It's not plastic. It doesn't feel like plastic. Doesn't really look like plastic. Either way, it's cut well. It really helps with the tuning stability, so that's all you can really ask for in your nuts. So I think beyond the headstock, neck, body, pickups, all that kind of stuff, these were the major selling points of this guitar, this model, rather. Let's go ahead and talk about them. So mahogany neck, it's a set neck, you know, regular SG stuff. It's a slim taper neck. It's got this satiny kind of finish to the back, so it's, you know, really, really fast, really smooth, really comfortable overall for most people. Okay, big deal. A lot of guitars have that. Well, let's look at the fretboard because this is where it gets interesting. It's an ebony fretboard, which is a big deal for these older Epiphone models because a lot of the older custom models had rosewood and it made a lot of people upset for tone wood reasons or whatever the case may be, I'm not sure. I can kind of understand the look. It looks really, really nice. I like it. Still don't get the anger of a rosewood, but anyway. That tribal design has kind of creeped its way onto the inlays here. So you have these little lightning bolt kind of tribal arm tattoo things on your inlays. I like them. It kind of adds to the over-the-top look that this guitar has in general. It's got 24 jumbo frets. So obviously this thing is geared towards like metalheads, shredders, things like that. Anyone that would utilize those extra 2 frets. Working our way down to the body, this one is in the like red burst. I don't know what flavor this is called. But it's got a quilt top on it. I'm not the biggest fan of quilt tops, but I gotta say, this one is, I'm not gonna say subtle, but it's not loud, if that makes sense. It's not too much quilt. It doesn't look tacky. Looks pretty good to me. It is a mahogany body, and you may not be able to tell on camera, but it is slightly thicker, maybe a fair, decent bit thicker than a normal SG, and that is because the output jack is on the side here. You may have noticed it's not on the front. I think that was a big selling point for a lot of people. A lot of SG players probably don't really like the output jack being right here, because if you got those cables like that, one little chop or dropping something on there and you're gonna be replacing an output jack. So, you know, I like this. It's a nice change. I like SGs. I don't really care for it either way, and I think one of the biggest selling points of these guitars, at least the ones with the passive pickups, were the Gibson Dirty Finger pickups. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the only way that you could get these pickups back in the day was to get a guitar that had them in it, or buy them on the used market from somebody that bought a guitar that had them in it and ripped them out and are trying to sell them at vastly inflated prices. As far as the pickups go, they sound fine. They're not super duper high output or anything, but they are pretty clear. I really like them. I've heard a lot of people talk about Dirty Fingers pickups before. Never have played them up until I got this guitar. And I can agree, they sound pretty good. And then flipping over to the back here, pretty plain. You can see the set-in neck there. You got your strap button here, strap button down here, and one control cavity, all that kind of stuff. So there you go. There's the Epiphone SG Prophecy. This is the older Prophecy line. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning or not, so if it looks kind of strange that I'm talking about Prophecy and it doesn't look like the new ones, it's an older model, so calm down. Overall, I think that they're pretty nice. They're worth looking into if you want a Gibson shape and you want 24 frets, or you want some maybe different pickups in it, or you want, you know, a different control layout, whatever the case may be, different top. I highly recommend looking into one of the old Epiphone Prophecy line Les Pauls or SGs, because they're all going to be kind of similar, right? But those are specs. You probably saw some B-roll of this thing was beat up. Again, it is a used guitar. Let's go ahead and see what it sounds like first in a full mix. Then I'll give you some individual tones.
you.